so I kind of got the idea like, oh, okay, I'm going to try to get him home. I just got to figure out how. And when I started researching it and calling different, there was like just started to have organizations that would help you bring pets back and stuff. But when I told them what I was trying to do and where I was at and how remote we were, they're like, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to get them back. And I was like, okay, that's not what you tell a team guy. Like, oh, there's always a way.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I went over to Brent, like, hey, what all do you need to get your dog back? Like, what's the process? Like, how do you get your dog back? Is it like kind of a lot of like bureaucracies or paperwork or whatever? And it's like, would I be able to Photoshop something to make it look like he is a working dog? And Brent looked at me and was like, yeah, you could probably do that. And
That's great.
So like the wheels started spinning a little bit, and I went in. We had a platoon meeting, and I went in and go, hey guys, this is kind of what I'm thinking about. I don't know how it's going to be received, but what if everybody wanted to get Frank out of there because everybody knew his fate was probably not going to end well if he stayed. And I remember pitching the idea and being like, hey, I'm thinking about what if we smuggled Frank back and said he was a working dog, and we got all the paperwork and everything, and my OIC is like, get the paperwork and we'll move on from there if it seems to fit. He didn't say no.
That's surprising, man.
Yeah, my OIC was freaking awesome. He was awesome.
I don't think you could do that now.
No, I doubt it.
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
I don't think there's an OIC out there right now that would be like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we can't do that.
I think maybe it was partly because he was curious to see what I would come up with. And
that's awesome.
Because he didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He's like, just see what you got. And so the problem was I didn't know anything about Photoshop, but our IT guy did. So I got the IT guy to get Turbo's paperwork and kind of went and made a whole fake medical folder for Frank. And it was like fake injuries that he had, like he broke his leg in one training op. And we got the real deal folder. And then I was like, so Brent, what's the next thing we need? And he's like, well, when I leave, I have to get him checked by the vet, get the vet to stamp his signature, whatever. And then that's like the last thing. And I go, okay. So in theory, if you did that and scanned it and sent it to me and we Photoshopped Turbo's name off and put Frank's or whatever, however it worked, would we be able to pass a customs inspection? He's like, yeah, that's kind of what you do. You just hand them the folder, they look at it and say, good, get out of here.
So you didn't have to have Frank examined by the vet. You just
we stole the vet's signature.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Essentially is what we did.
God, that's great.
Yeah. And so I pitched that idea back to my OIC. Like, in order for this to work, we're going to have to send Brent out of here a few weeks early to get the signature. And Brent was like, hell yeah. So we ended up, my OIC was like, let's just see what happens. We'll go from there. And
dude, your OIC is a fucking unicorn. Like, none of them would do something like that.
Oh, he's over at Dam Neck now.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah, he's definitely a freaking awesome guy.
That's great.
So that's what happened 2 weeks, I think, before we were slated to get out of there. We sent Brent out and Turbo out. He got the stamp, emailed it back to me, handed it off to my IT guy. He kind of went through it and made it into a Frank vet signature or whatever. And then I had the whole, like, we sent someone back to Kandahar or TK or whatever, and they got like an actual real medical folder. They stole a medical folder out of one of the med shops, and we put together an actual real medical folder that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a real one and a fake one.
Yeah.
The only thing was Frank looked like an Afghan puppy. Yeah. So it was pretty obvious that he wasn't a military working dog. But Brent had an extra vest and everything, and gave me a vest, and he had an extra kennel and gave me a kennel and stickers from the West Coast dog team. And so it looked pretty official. And it came time for us to leave, and because I was taking Frank, I was the last lift out of there. And my OIC, the last thing he had to do, I think, was take me off of the SEAL Team 4 manifest and put me on the West Coast
MPC,
dog. Yeah. So that was something that he had to do, and he went and did it. And
that's so awesome.
And he's like, and I was very clear, like, if this goes south, I'm taking the fall, and no one's going to know any different. I'm going to say I did this all behind everyone's back, and we were going to roll the dice with it. Everybody wanted to get Frank back, and so it came time to leave, and Frank took his first Chinook ride out out of Bagok and into Kandahar Airfield. We were at Camp Brown for only supposed to be there for a day or two, and then the plane broke down, and they said it was going to be like a week until they could get us out of there. So we were trying to hide, because everyone who knows what an Afghan dog looks like knows that Frank is not a military working dog.
Yeah.
And so we got put up in this like attic of this warehouse and only came out at night. And a buddy of mine went to go check in on me to see if I wanted any food or something one evening, and opened up the door, out ran Frank. Oh, man. Loose Afghan dog in a compound. You know, it's a shoot threat kind of.
Yeah.
And we didn't know where he went. He ran out Camp Brown. We didn't know where he was at. We had the whole platoon like doing loops around Kandahar Airfield looking for him, and my actual chief found him out by the dog compound.
That's fucking great. What were you feeding him Turbo's food that whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did Frank come from?
Frank, so there was a ODA guy who got his leg blown off. His name was, I think, Frank, and they named the dog Frank, and I didn't know that's what I thought he said, Frank. And by the time I got him his name changed to Frank, it was like, oh,
it was Frank.
It was Frank.
No shit.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's such a great story. So, all right, so he's hanging out with his fellow four-legged friends.
Yep, got him back. Everything was smoothed over. All took a sigh of relief, and then it came time to get out of there. And finally, we're going to the airport or the tarmac to fly out of there. And there was 2 other team guide dog handlers there from the East Coast. And the guy who was the SEA of the 2 guys that was there came up to me and goes, "That's not a working dog, and it cannot be near my dog. It is not going to be on this flight." And I go, "Okay." And I went and I was like, "Okay, let me go see what I can do." And then I went and talked to my OIC, who was the flight lead, and he was like, "Okay, we'll get you on a different flight, which will probably be out of here in 2 weeks. So either you can just suck it up and get on this plane, or you can go get a flight out of here in like 2 weeks." He goes, "Okay, well, if you're going to do that, you need a muzzle, and you need this." It gave me a bunch of extra, completely changed his attitude once that happened, and actually was kind of on board about it, especially once he heard all that was going on and wanted to be part of it. Then it kind of changed his tune. Yeah. Got on the plane finally, took off, airborne, break down midair, had to do an emergency landing in El Asad Air Force Base in Iraq. Luckily, there was a West Coast platoon there, and they're like, "Oh, dude, don't worry about it. We've got you hooked up in a dog room. You got your own special room with a doggy door and a big run for them to go play in." And it was awesome. And when we got to in Iraq, the chow hall there had like slushy machines and like it was great, man. It was kind of great.
How long were you there for?
I think we were there for like 4 days, 4 or 5 days.
Wow. So then you finally get on the bird again, right?
Get on the bird, had to do another landing in Spain, and we went out to Spain. I think it was the first time Frank saw grass, like green grass, and was like rolling around in it and like jumping over. It was kind of funny watching him play in the grass. And then we went into the airport there, and they had 2 kegs of beer. We kicked the kegs and got back on the plane, took off, and landed in the Dover. Oh, man. We landed in the Dover, and the customs agent came on the plane, and when it was time to deboard, and was like, "Hey, everyone's good to go. I just need to see the dog handlers down the belly of the plane." And we went down there, and he asked for the paperwork and looked for it, and he let the other dogs went, and it was just me there then. And he's like, "So I got to ask, man," as he's looking for this, like, "what kind of dog is this?" And I was kind of already prepared what I was going to tell him. I was like, "Well, it's Frank kind of looked like an Anatolian Shepherd when you start looking at him." Like, "So this is an Anatolian Shepherd mix. It's this new program we got. It's top secret. I can't really go into it, but this dog is trained to do long range tracking. It's an explosive dog, and also like partly a attack dog as well. And but that's really all the more I can say. It's an experimental program. I don't know how many of these dogs are going to come out." And he's like, "Oh man, that's freaking awesome. I never knew that was like going on over there. That's cool, man. That's cool. That's a cool dog." It's like, "Hey, welcome home." So,
that's amazing.
So that's how Frank got his U.S. citizenship.
Dude, that's fucking incredible, man. What a great story. I mean, to me, the natural excuse would be like, we want dogs to look like local dogs. That way they don't stand out and can blend in, whatever. But God, that's so cool.